Where are we here?
New feature run through the. Okay, can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
So I was gonna show you this first. So this, let me know too if you can't see anything because the cropping is really bizarre. So I'll have to. So if you take your offhand here and you press the grip button, move it down, you see this little lock icon?
Yeah.
This is on the Quest 2. So normally what I've done
Okay.
to try to get things to align is I like get them get on the floor. I actually use the stylus because I can kind of get a sense of where the floor is.
Yeah, sure.
Use the stylus to kind of line it up, press and hold, and then on this button, if you push down, bam, that locks it. Now it's saved the location. And now it's locked, can't move it,
Interesting.
and I can sketch and stuff.
But you have to set up the scale and everything first, right?
Yeah, you have to kind of set everything up. This is locked to 91%, so that's not even right. But I'd
Okay.
have to get it to 100%, move it down with this, and then lock it. And then now, so I just unlock it. You can move around, make stuff. And then if you press it again, put your thumb on there, push up, it moves it back. So if you press it, now I unlock it, press it, move it up, move it back to that location.
Cool. So you can modify it even after you've done work in it.
Exactly. So that's the and this is on this headset and the Quest 2. So it's on both of them. And then the other thing, so let me see if I can get to it. Here a surface I can go on. See. Do this one more time. So what I've done too is I'll enable the mirror plane and then turn off the vertical lock and position the mirror plane. But
Oh, and there's another mirror style. Don't think I. Okay, cool.
But what I like to do is try to get the mirror plane, and you can press and hold this on a surface, and that puts you in pen mode. So you press and hold on a surface, bam, now I'm in pen mode. And if I want to get back to stylus mode, you go press and hold that, or normal mode. So if I'm in pen mode, then I can see, I'll like align my mirror plane to get just right on the surface, and then press and hold it, create a new sort of point, and then now I can,
That's so wild.
like I didn't get it right.
You like that stylus feature now that you've been trying it?
So if we have a blackboard or whiteboard, can you draw it?
Yeah, you can too. So this is just showing like if you wanted to, I was trying to think about this in like in a workflow capacity. So like, let's say you wanted to, definitely not as a vehicle, but if you wanted to try to sketch a vehicle or something, then you could, sketch and move it like this. Now pull it and then start to shape it in VR and
That's so wild.
then go back or like click it, move it back, do another sketching. Right, so that's one way of kind of playing with this that I've been messing around with. The other way is like what you're talking about. If it doesn't matter where it's at in space, you could just walk over to any place. Sketch on this surface. Alright. Or if I wanted to change this, make that bigger. Yeah, so you could just come over here and sketch on any surface you want, or in like in that video I showed, like if I wanted to say, I wanted to get the proportions of this down, right?
Yeah.
I could just kind of trace along, oh, I have the mirror point enabled still.
The stylus is always your anchor point.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it won't get it exact. I mean, even if you see like what I'm doing here, it's not quite like. But gives you a good enough just to grab the proportions. The process it would take to have to do all that through scanning would just take so long.
Yeah, no, this is
And
for
just-
scanning, exactly. That's so powerful.
So you could do it like that, and then now I could, maybe come in here and try to knock that out and create
Yeah,
something from that, right?
that is really, really powerful.
So that's another way that I've seen.
With everything you're showing us, you don't need the 3D model of these blocks anymore.
No, you don't.
You can just sketch it.
Well, this was sort of a fun way. So like what I've been doing at my house to do my floor plan, which I think in this instance would work the same way, is essentially like I showed you before. Let's say we took this anchor point, and let's say we try to get it. I'm not going to be able to get it necessarily perfect, but I try to line it up
Mhm.
right on that corner. So now that I have that on the corner, what I can do is I can use the point. I can use point mode and planar mode, and I can snap the plane onto the origin, so now it'll line up, and I can use this to now map out the,
Yeah, so quick too.
yeah. This is how I was using it to like map out my floor plan. It was like you just can now
Yeah.
draw on the floor and
No, for sure.
create stuff like that. So that's one way you can kind of map out 3D spaces and then use that, and then you pull the headset off,
Mhm.
sketch, put it back on, go and sketch into. So yeah, that's some of the mixed reality stuff, the
That's-
stylus and that. There's
that's-
also, I'll show you some other, just like these are side things, but
Mhm.
we've changed the primitive for the soft cube and for the normal cube. But now if you create one, you can have these to,
So a little bit more control.
yep.
Gotcha.
And if you take this, you can convert it into a sub D object and it stays the same. What you wanted to do for that. So that's that. We've also got edge slide now. So if you grab an edge and you press this offhand trigger,
Mhm.
it'll select that. If you grab and continue pressing, it'll slide it.
It's kind of the auto select edge loops, but a little bit easier.
Exactly. And then it slides these points along the face now too, so you can move it. So that's another thing we've got. And if you just press, like you can do that with a point or an edge or a whole edge loop. So if you grab the edge, press the offhand trigger, slide that,
Mhm.
grab the point, slide that.
Yeah, that's pretty quick.
So that's another thing I'm trying to. And then I'm not on the beta. I can show you if you're interested in seeing the multi-select too, if you're looking for feedback right now.
I mean, honestly, anything you would be interested in us responding to it. I had a question from a student, especially when creating a Gravity Sketch presentation room, if there were a way of quickly baking everything, because you can't multi-select lines and surfaces at the same time. You have to individually select each one, bake it, so you can save it as a unified model and then.
Oh, you're saying so.
Yeah.
So what you can do, that one is a little bit hidden, but you have to, so let's say I have all these, I'll just create a bunch of lines. That, so if I wanted to bake all these, you can, need to get out that mode. So I can grab them, press and hold. And then now if I press and hold, I'm in multi-edit mode for all these points.
Mhm.
Then you
Yeah.
go into bake mirrored and that would,
But does that also work if you had lines and surfaces at the same time?
oh, is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, like
yeah.
a whole,
Oh,
a whole
sorry.
sketch,
Yeah, yeah.
a whole sketch model. If you wanted to bake all of it, so you can export it to a separate room, or you can move it around and it doesn't
That's a good point.
rely on a mirror plane.
Have you tried it with this and it hasn't worked?
I personally haven't. I recommended students to do that. The multi-select, I think they knew of it, I hope, but that was the main thing I was curious about. If
Yeah, it does. It works on surfaces.
so,
It
you
should work on everything.
so you should be able to bake an entire model in one step. Like,
Yeah, should be able to.
okay.
The only other way to do that would be to export it and import it back in.
Mm.
If the push comes to shove, that's the way to do it. A little bit of a workaround, but yeah. So that's that. I'll hand this over to you guys if you want to play with these features. To get into pass through, grab that, probably already know this, but
Mhm.
grab that off and then just keep pulling it off and that'll swap between the two.
It's such an intuitive new way of doing it. So remember, you have to go to the settings menu. I'm just gonna try the measuring thing mostly out and some of the new tools, but you can try it too. The one of the things I was really interested in, which as soon as I tried it, that was the first thing I validated was the measurement tool. Because for us, this is really powerful. So yellow,
There's one other thing. Should show you.
yeah, no, sure thing, anything you want.
I've just been, yeah, with how I've been experimenting with just different workflows of using stylus. And a long time ago, the original Gravity Sketch was like a, they originally didn't do it on VR. It was gonna be this like 2D platform thing that you would sketch on, and then,
Really?
yeah, you would sketch on this like tablet essentially in 3D space, and then whoever sketched on it left it there.
Which they kind of kept with the 2D, well, the iPad or tablet.
Yeah,
feature.
exactly. That's what the original iPad app was, the first sort of pass at that. And then the updated one as well. But I was playing with ways of basically doing that with the stylus, where you can like sketch on a surface and then use that as a means of sketching out a thing. A little bit different than what I showed initially, but
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. Oh, I think I might have moved. So in this case, for example, I moved the axis itself just by accident. Is there any way of snapping it back to?
so if you look on your left hand there,
Yeah.
and you press the grip trigger, and then put your thumb on the thumb pad. There you go.
Oh, that's the.
So what you want to do before clicking it, yeah, there you go, and then push down. Like, or sorry.
Oh,
the-
sit
like,
down. Good, yeah.
And you press and hold it down. There you go. And now that'll be locked in space.
Mhm, okay.
So if you want to get out of it, you do it, you do it, flick it, and then
And if
if you want to get back to it, push up.
and since you had aligned it, let's say exactly how I wanted it before, and I moved it on accident, is there any way, like right now it's out of alignment, do I have to manually do it or can it?
No, so if you press and hold that offhand and then push up on the thumbstick. That'll move
Oh.
it back, yeah. So up, you press down to create a new one, and then you push up to move it back to that.
Okay. Unfortunately, I moved it more than once, so it's snapped to the previous one. But,
It's okay.
no, but that is the biggest thing, you know, that I really see with what we're doing. And it's really cool also knowing that you have the transparency thing. It's kind of cool. So this is. Yeah, this is nice, especially for glass. Instead of having to control an entire layer with opacity, you
Yeah.
can just make the material. That's pretty wild. Deleting some stuff. Yibo, do you want to try it?
I think you have another function to introduce.
Is there anything?
Yeah, I can show you another like kind of workflow. if
Yeah,
you wanna
yeah,
play
honestly,
with it.
anything at all. This is just the fidelity is so powerful for us. I think there are so many.
Yeah, so the other thing it was similar to the mirror plane stuff that I showed you. But one thing that I was playing with, which I don't know if it's that realistic of a thing to do, but like basically, if I use this surface as a reference, and I even like took in I went to the textures and say it crashed me without the texture. Like I even took one of these and like kind of put it where my desk is. And this is something eventually we could actually like make a full-blown feature. Just so I can tell where it's at. And then you can kind of, like I was sketching out on the surface, playing with like trying to make a like a ship or something, so you can here. Like, turn it. Maybe I want some wings. So I don't know, it's a little bit backwards in terms of, you know, you can obviously do this in VR. There's something kind of nice about using the friction of actually sketching on this. As a way.
More natural.
So I was just kind of playing with it, like, and seeing what you could do.
And in this particular case, what is the main purpose of the kind of the shadow, like soft brush effect that you put it down?
This one's not doing it
doing it as good as some of the other ones I've done, but the idea was that it will clip, so like you can see it here. See how it clips through? So you know how the iPad does this?
Oh, gotcha.
So you can kind of see where you're at.
Yeah.
This is something I think if we wanted to do this in a better way, we'd have to actually make a feature for it. Or do something like if people actually want to do this.
Yeah.
Because it's a little bit too finicky.
Yeah, but that makes sense, yeah, for reference, because you're in AR and you have
Uh-huh.
a fixed, like you're using a fixed surface.
But yeah, using the sort of your draw plane as the plane of reference and you're just sketching around it. But again, you could obviously just go bam like that too.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I was just playing with different ways of kind of using this and the nice kind of physical feeling of actually sketching.
Yeah.
But yeah, but that's that.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah, no, it has so many applications, just the stylus feature and being able to anchor a physical surface to what you're sketching.
exactly. And then the other
It's really
thing,
cool.
I mean, this isn't necessarily a feature, but one thing I've been like, I showed it in that talk, but using sort of those textures, and I was thinking within the, definitely makes sense within the mixed reality space like this. But let's say you wanted to try to make this similarly how you do it in a VR environment, but you wanted to make this look like this is, actually anchored down to the, like sitting on top of it, using these drop shadows and stuff to
Mhm. Right.
kind of make it look like it's sitting on top of that. Right. In this case, you probably want a square one or something, but
Oh, for sure. Mm.
but eventually this could be done through the lighting system and the actual thing, but the tech is just not there right now. But then,
But it's getting close, right? Like you can show the intention behind it.
yeah, and I believe if you set up the lighting in a way too, you might be able to get actual real shadows pass through.
Which is another
Okay.
question. Can it handle more complex environments in GS? So, like, can it handle better HDRIs or better gradient lighting?
This headset,
And, yeah, materials.
somewhat, it's pretty similar to the Quest 2 in terms of performance, but a little bit better. But not like majorly. So a lot of it, so like they also have the capacity
And
you're gonna see for these. It does have like face and eye track. I don't know if you can see my eyes. There you go. There's my little avatar. Have to kind of adjust the headset. So it uses some of the processing capabilities to like do this face tracking stuff.
Yeah.
Where did you create this figure?
If you can create it as on the actual account. So I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah, because Oculus itself
it's
has they have
Okay.
avatars.
So you can like create it in the Oculus avatars.
Yeah.
You saw this on the presentation. I really
Yeah.
liked
No, it's really
fiddling with them.
especially for a collab session where you have multiple people in different places around the world, you getting that human emotion component is really huge. Because yeah, I mean collab sessions now feel very static
Yeah.
because it's just the floating headset, so that takes it a little bit further.
Yeah, I really liked that. So you have it in the tethered mode
Yeah,
and you put down the controllers and have hand tracking enabled. It was a bug. But basically, there's a bug where like it would actually track the hands, the controllers would be, and that's something we found. We didn't realize that would happen, but you could kind of use it to like point to things. So I was using that in a video for like a colleague and was using it to like explain stuff within the UI. And
That's awesome.
I really like having a little bit more.
that's really sweet. More of a conceptual question is, have you guys ever talked about what a possible hand tracking solution or any hand tracking alone feature would look like?
Yeah, a lot of that, like, a lot of what we're thinking was the hand tracking, because they did that a long time ago. They had like a weak version. Actually, the hand tracking is not great. It's really tough. It's precise. Presenting or reviewing things is basically really interesting. So that's something I think about it. box mode or a review mode where like when you put the controllers down, go to hand tracking, then it defaults to this mode where you can just hand it to somebody and they have basic controls.
That,
Navigate
it
around.
makes sense because it's more stable motion. And I'm thinking intuitively the same way that now you do this to switch from AR and view, maybe there's a motion where there's a motion controllers put them away. And when you clap back or something, it snaps your controllers. But yeah, for presenting, an app we developed for a project I did some years ago, we created a control version and a hand tracking version, and it was just when we tested it, it was much more intuitive, especially like you said, for presentation when someone hasn't tried the technology before. It's just so much easier. It's simple motions like pointing finger,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that, I mean, the cool thing with the way they have it set up right now is it detects. So like if you have hand tracking enabled on the headset, if you put down the controllers and it detects that your controllers are now gone, it automatically will default you into hand tracking. So like the actual headset will do that. So that's all you have to do. Like, and that's why one thing I've been trying to push for is like, can we just enable hands like that without any functionality and see what people would do with that? Essentially, just if you just put it down and you just have hands and you can see them in Colab, you know, with people do, you know, how are you interact with that sort of thing, and then eventually build off functionality. But yeah, it's definitely something we've thought about. It's the interface design. That I really hope we were able to do that someday because it would be really interesting. It's some fun stuff. Designing hand tracking interfaces is really interesting. It's tricky.
and in the complexity, you have to lower for sure the complexity of what you can do, but for specific use cases, like you said, for presenting would be great. I've had a better experience in the past few months presenting or having people experience a presentation with using the teleport, so the banana. It's a little bit easier than, because you can also teach them how to scale on and up, but it's really easy for them to just get the scale completely wrong, zoom into 1,000,000% and just be kind of lost. But I've had success giving them one controller and just the banana feature. Yeah, like where you want to go to scaling for them, and then just give them the one controller.
Yeah.
With hand tracking.
Yeah, I don't know if I've actually tried it because you might be able to lock the sketch using that lock feature that I showed you. So for one, that would do it. That would probably do it for you in terms of not even, you could probably still give them both controllers because if you lock it like that at the scale, you can still use banana to move around.
And they won't.
And so you literally like there's no way they can move, they can scale or anything, or even move the sketch around or anything. So yeah, that would probably be, well, you can still move the sketch, you just can't scale it, but you could use the banana in that instance. But I don't know if viewpoints works with that. I would try that.
I haven't tried viewpoints with that specifically either. The main thing with viewpoints is you have to have the menu open all the time and you click on the series that.
Yeah.
I think you can also move your joystick. Right?
Yeah, if you give them just the right one, they should be able to swipe through it, swipe left to right. You can turn off in the settings, there's different comfort modes. So you turn it, I like to put it on full instead of the smooth mode. So it just like teleports you straight into that instead of moving the whole sketch around. I find that sickening.
It's more disorienting. No, that's exciting. It seems like you're working on a couple of pretty cool things. I always keep thinking back to what you did for Capstone, like the next generation of this interaction. With new headsets like that, I mean, it's more of a tech problem, right? The device that can handle. This one seems more, it is more capable.
It's capable. I mean, we could do it, but we actually built out. So I don't remember if I ever showed you this, but for the onboarding, this whole onboarding project first, we built out this whole suite of tools, internal tools, to be able to make things interactive, to try to build out these onboarding experiences.
Yeah.
And I think the learning that we had and learning that I had from that was, this is very complex. This is tough.
Yeah.
And we tried to, we built this whole suite of tools and we tried to go tell people about it. And the company even tried to get people, they had no understanding of how to use it. It was like right over, it was way too programmery to try to like get people to use it. And so that was where I kind of realized, at least with my Capstone, it would have to be probably even simpler than what I showed. It would just have to be like still frames, kind of what Shapes XR is doing
Yeah,
with
yeah.
that, or
Kind
and
of
maybe,
like viewpoints, and you swipe and it shows still or stationary.
and if it wasn't non-linear, like if you wanted to be non-linear, take out all the animation component, and just have it basically do like a slide presentation, but then you can jump to different slides, so like how Figma does it, but taking out the animation. I don't even know, like the first thing would be, you don't necessarily need animation for a lot of
Yeah.
that.
And it's like different levels of implementation. The first next step would be that, yeah, like a fixed. Because I've built sequences in GS before, but the easy way is just duplicate what you have. Second version of it, you move it to whatever the second frame would be duplicated. If that would be a quick way, maybe viewpoints is the quick way of, once you have all those moments in sequence, you set out specific viewpoints of each and then you just swipe.
Yeah.
I've never tried that, but.
With the transparency slider, one of the reasons why I did this is now, so like what I've done for a while now, it can be a little laborious sometimes, but I use layers to present off. That's what I did in that presentation.
Yeah, yeah.
But because you can use the transparency slider, you don't need to use split up layers anymore by their transparency. So you can have one layer be a whole sun and then another layer be the whole sun. So what I'll do is I'll take one layer. If I wanted, for instance, if I had like a vehicle and I wanted to show this vehicle doing different things, I would take one layer, grab it, duplicate it, and then change it, move it, basically frame, doing like rough keyframes essentially, and then be able to move through those the way it.
Strictly, yeah, we'll make them visible.
Yeah, and use the transparency slider to just have it all within one layer instead of having to split out into multiples.
Yeah, that would be, because I do that too. The only complexity is you're overlaying the same model a couple of times over itself. So just while you turn it on and off, it gets, but that's I mean, the transparency really enables that. Because for the longest time we've had to create a separate layer for any transparent material, which gets the job done. For presentation, it's just interesting how you have to set up the file differently depending on what you're doing. If it's a presentation, if you're exporting to the presentation room, if it's more of a process file, if you're exporting to render somewhere else, you have to separate the materials.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's how it always has been. Now that's also, yeah, it's interesting just knowing how you're realizing the need in some cases for at least explaining sequences or explaining motion, not necessarily in an animated way, but it could be different.
Yeah. Just seeing too what people have been doing in the XR or like the Shapes XR stuff too, and seeing how like they can make it look very animated without even animating, just about still motion, which I thought that was really interesting.
Another thing that really caught my attention in your presentation was the kind of the 360 bubble scene.
Oh, yeah.
Each of the models. That was so cool.
Thanks. Yeah, what I've been doing with that, that one I took like the UV sphere and Blender and then kind of squashed it and inverted the normals and brought that in. And then in Figma, picture files with like the and apply it and it'll make it look that way. But like what I've figured out is that you can, really easy way of UV unwrapping a model is just to take a model and then from a specific view, you can project that you can have from that view. So if I have a sphere, for instance, and I just like look at it at one angle, then I can project the UV map. So it'll basically take that, squash it, and then just put that as the UV map. And then I do this, you can do this in Photoshop or like Figma, but I'll take a screenshot of it, basically do a texture with it, making it look like it, like for the grab sphere, I try to fake the grab sphere in GS by doing that. So at one angle, it'll look right. If you look at a different angles, it won't, but at one angle, it'll look like a halo looking thing. So you can do that I've done it with hands too, where I took a hand model and then projected it from the top view and then did a gradient. So it makes it look like you have hands kind of faded and stuff. So that's been a fun little hack.
Yeah.
Using to try to get different visual effects.
That's potential for sure.
But it does take.
Going back to this, I mean, I think that the biggest learning thing for us is the new stylus feature, which is really, it has lots of potential, just not only for sketching, but for anchoring things. And
Yeah, because you can use it with point mode too, so you can point mode things down. So that's another way to kind of get it. The thing is that the tracking, and I think this will get better over time. I found that the tracking gets a little bit like jittery sometimes, and so you can't, it's not necessarily exact.
Yeah,
So it wouldn't never do it for like an exact measurement of something, but just for getting a rough thing,
Yeah,
it's good
which-
enough.
especially for early ideation, that's already more accurate than you need it to
Yeah.
be. Right.
But yeah,
No,
yeah, it's been a fun little,
that's awesome. Have you played with any other apps or anything in it? Like now that you've had access to the headset, what else have you?
I haven't gotten any, I've gotten the free ones I could. I haven't bought any of the other ones to see if I can find any of them. I also want you to try out the multi-select well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what is, I'm a big part of GIS development is really testing out other apps and just trying to see what's happening in other spaces. Yeah, Archeo, I've tried messing with it, haven't got it to work.
I haven't bought, I need to buy some of the other ones in now. Like Immersed is one of them. This is like a cowork. It's a,
Mm,
to be honest, so it's like you can put virtual monitors up and you can basically use your computer.
yeah, a virtual desktop. I've downloaded some like that. I don't see the value for me right now in
Yeah, me
this,
neither.
but it might. The virtual meeting ones could be interesting. Like if you have a global team and we're creating like a conference room and everybody's in there, there could be something to that. But
I'm like, I don't want to keep it. I'd rather just have monitors. Like, I don't want to keep my headset on while just looking at the monitor. So
right,
that's why I've
if
never,
it's just a meeting, for sure.
so I'll show you. This is I'll let you play with it a little bit here. So this is the multi-select tool that some of the team has been building. So this is, if you press and hold this grip button now instead of well, it still does a tool belt, but that's going to be fixed actually. So you press and hold to get you into multi-select mode, and then you can hover over stuff. And if you press and hold this, you can go bam, bam, bam. Now this can be scaled, copied. And then, so that works with objects, and I can select whatever objects you want, move it. And then it also works in point mode. So if you have point like this, you can go bam, bam, grab those two.
Sweet.
Those
Yeah.
two, and you can
That's
clear it. Works in sub D, same thing in sub D. That paste, grab that, grab those, delete them. Grab that point, grab that point. I believe you can also extrude from it. So yeah, it's just a way of now being able to select multiple edges. And we've never had this sort of capability in the past. Yeah, that's what this is.
Yeah.
So feel free if you want to try it. Or,
Good. Yeah, let's try that.
I'll have to get you access to that data so you can play with
You
these.
said it's a separate build.
Yeah, it's a whole separate thing. So you've got to sign up. If you're on the Discord too, we've got like an announcement for it. So you can sign up for it, and then we'll send you the link and you can download it. But it's completely separate from the PDF.
No, that's awesome. And why did you disenable the tool belt when you did that?
Because right now, the interactions are overlapping, so you have to press and hold the grip button to access multi-select, but if you press and hold the grip button and swipe, then that also opens the tool belt, so
Oh, gotcha,
it's because it's just a prototype, so that.
gotcha. So yeah, especially since it's the same. I mean, there's a lot of.
And you can just press and hold it and kind of paint to be able to select as well.
Oh, gotcha. Let's try that. Okay. Yeah, really quick. Oh, that's pretty cool, especially when you're editing things quickly. I'm trying to see the color wheel. Maybe because of the kind of surfaces.
Oh, is the color wheel not able to
No.
grab it?
No.
Color wheel there at all?
I
It
guess
should
maybe-
be. I don't know why that's. Probably, but
I don't know.
they're still working on it.
Let's see, I'll try it with a line. Yeah, no, not right now, but
If you press the color button, what happens if you, are you pressing it?
yeah. Oh,
Oh, try that one, yeah.
No, this case. I mean. So that's much.
I wonder if the thumbstick still works as a color button on this. I don't know if you remove that.
Yeah, go ahead. That's making it.
Oh, so it's not.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So I'm moving them and now calling it, okay, yeah. Yeah, and I'm just really curious on the, just since it's a more powerful headset, if it can render things a little bit better. Just in terms of environment, lighting, or if it can process more complexity. That's just.
I almost not.
You go to the primitives panel.
And then tell me a little bit of pipeline of activity. Maybe scheduled, not, or maybe not even scheduled yet, but.
There's a lot of potential, especially with viewpoints and
Yeah.
what you were saying on presenting.
Yeah, we'd have a lot we need to improve on to make presenting easier. Definitely something, because I've been,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's something where I more into as well, but it, right now, so much of it is still workarounds.
Yeah.
There's something baked in.
Which is great because you're finding the applications, right, for it. So this is a beta feature, doesn't have some of the full capabilities.
Yeah, some of the stuff will be broken.
No, it's just a little bit to see. Especially, well, as far as the mannequin goes, kind of the idea behind the avatars that you were doing, it would be interesting if you could get mannequins to, just for more of a presentation, if they could be a little bit more realistic on the user you're designing for, get some kind of overview.
Yeah,
Kind of this is like-
working on it.
Yeah.
We've actually got some models of,
Awesome,
we're trying to get, yeah,
that's
we got
great,
some models that just have something actually I'm working on.
awesome, yeah, especially for, that's where we start going into the twin motion side of things a little bit.
Yeah, I had.
It's-
Thank you.
That's where we start getting like the beauty of twin motion, just a little bit more on the realistic side of people when you're showing a scene.
Yeah.
And GS is all about prototyping and iteration, so it doesn't need to be that, but you guys are getting pretty close in so many of those other areas. Would you want to try going upstairs and seeing the headset we were?
Yeah, let's do it.
You can see it. You also, you have a meeting too, right?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that one time.
It's 10:20. When is